Oh, hey, thanks for coming into the church building today. Did you get the flyer? No? Well, thanks for coming nonetheless. We're going to continue our reading through the Bible. This is, again, the New Revised Standard Version, and we're going to continue in Genesis chapter 8. So let's hop right in. Chapter 8, the flood subsides. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and all the domestic animals that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind blow over the earth, and the water subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens were restrained, and the waters gradually receded from the earth. At the end of 150 days the waters had abated, and in the 7th month of the 17th day of the month the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the first day of the month, the tops of the mountains appeared. I always wondered why it was so important to list the day of the month and which month it was, but again, not reading through the commentaries, just plowing through. At the end of 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made and sent out a raven. And it went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent out the dove from him to see if the waters had subsided from the face of the ground. But the dove found no place to set its foot, and it returned to him to the ark, for the waters were still on the face of the whole earth. So he put out his hand and took it and brought it into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again he sent out the dove from the ark. And the dove came back to him in the evening, and there was in its beak a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the waters had subsided from the earth. Then he waited another 7 days and sent out the dove, and it did not return to him any more, assuming it found a place to land and to eat. Or in the 601st year, in the first month, on the first day of the month, the waters were dried up from the earth. Let me reread that. In the 601st year. Okay, not sure what that means. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked and saw that the face of the ground was drying. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Go out of the ark, and you and your wife, and your sons and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, birds and animals, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, so that they may abound on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out with his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives, and every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, everything that moves on the earth, went out of the ark by families. Verse 20. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord and took every clean animal and every clean bird and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing odor, the Lord said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground because of humankind, for the inclination of human heart is evil from youth, nor will I ever again destroy every living creature as I have done." Verse 22, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease." And that is chapter 8. We're going to continue on with chapter 9. God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth, and the fear and dread of you shall rest on every animal of the earth." Poor animals. "And on every bird of the air, and on everything that creeps on the ground, and on all fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And just as I have given you the green plants, I give you everything." It's interesting if you look back on early Genesis, it talks about plants being food for Adam and Eve. I think it's a little unclear to me. Some say that Adam and Eve were vegetarians at first, and then later on, meat eating was introduced. I'm not sure, but what is interesting is it says everything that moves you can eat. But it has some limitations. Verse 4, only you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. For your own lifeblood I will surely require a reckoning. From every animal I will require it, and from human beings, each one for the blood of another, I will require a reckoning for human life. Whoever sheds the blood of a human, by a human shall that person's blood be shed. For in his own image God made mankind. Verse 7. And you, be fruitful and multiply, abound on the earth and multiply in it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, As for me, I am establishing my covenant with you and your descendants after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the domestic animals, and every animal on the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark. I establish my covenant with you that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of a flood. Never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. God said, This is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living thing, every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, This is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. So when you guys see that rainbow in the sky, just remember, God's not going to destroy it by water. That is a promise. Now by fire, that's not promised. The sons of Noah who went out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole earth was peopled. Noah, a man of the soil, was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank some of the wine and became drunk. Thank you. And he lay uncovered in his tent. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both of their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned away, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine, that's an interesting phrase, he awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, lowest of slaves shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed by the Lord my God be Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. May God make space for Japheth, and let him live in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his slave. After the flood, Noah lived 350 years, and all of the days of Noah were 950 years. Then he died. And that is the end of chapter 9. Moving on to 10. Let me get us up a coffee. These are the descendants of Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The children were born to them after the flood. Okay. I can do this. I can read. The descendants of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. The descendants of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togmar. The descendants of Javan, Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Rodanim. From these the coastland peoples spread. These are the descendants of Japheth in their lands, with their own language by their families in their nations. The descendants of Ham, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, and Sabdika. The descendants of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush became the father of Nimrod. He was the first on earth to become a mighty warrior. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Therefore it is said, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter before the Lord. I need to use that phrase. The beginning of his kingdom was Babel, Erech, and Akkad. all of them in this land of Shinar. From that land he went into Assyria and built Nineveh, Rehobothir, Calah, and Rezin between Nineveh and Calah. That is the great city. Egypt became the father of Ludim, Anamim, Lehabim, Nephtuhim, Pathruism, Casluhim, and Caphtorim, from which the Philistines come. Those are going to be important people later. Canaan became the father of Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Arkites, and the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Zemarites, and the Hamathites. Afterward, the families of the Canaanites spread abroad, and the territory of the Canaanites extend from Sidon in the direction of Gerar as far as Gaza, in the direction of Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim as far as Lasha. These are the descendants of Ham by their families, their languages, their lands, and their nations. To Shem also, the father of all the children of Eber, the elder brother of Japheth, children were born. The descendants of Shem, Elam, Asher, Arpachshad, Lud, and Aram. The descendants of Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, Mash. Arpachshad became the father of Shelah, and Shelah became the father of Eber. To Eber were born 2 sons. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided. And his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of Almodad, Sheleph, Hazarmaveth, Jerah, Hadoram, Uzal, Diklah, Obal, Abimael, Sheba, Ophir, Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the descendants of Joktan. The territory in which they lived extended from Misha in the direction of Sephar, the hill country of the east. These are the descendants of Shem by their families, their languages, their lands, and their nations. These are the families of Noah's sons, according to their genealogies in their nations, and from these nations spread abroad on the earth after the flood. You might be asking, why all this generational talk and the son of this and the son of that, who had which kids? Well, later on it becomes important, especially the lineage of Jesus can be traced. And it's also very important to Jewish culture, and we'll find out more about that in a little bit. Okay, moving on. Last for today, Genesis 11. The Tower of Babel. Now the whole earth had one language and the same words. And as they migrated from the east, they came upon a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them thoroughly." And they had bricks for stone and bitumen for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the heavens, and let us make a name for ourselves, otherwise we shall be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city and tower. It's interesting to think he came down to see it, which mortals had built. And the Lord said, "Look, they are one people and they have one language, and this is only the beginning of what they will do. Nothing that they propose to do will now be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and confuse their language there, so they will not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of all the earth, and they left off building the city. Therefore it was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of all the earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the earth. I've heard some different commentaries on that. I'll just say one real quick. The idea that they were supposed to be fruitful and multiply and spread out over the earth, and they were all compiling and compounding into one single tower, and that was against God's plan. Otherwise, it's just kind of an odd story. I invite your comments. All right, Shem. Here we go. These are the descendants of Shem. When Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arpachshad. That's tough for me to say, 2 years after the flood. And Shem lived after the birth of Arpachshad 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. And Arpachshad lived after the birth of Shelah 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And Shelah lived after the birth of Eber 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And Eber lived after the birth of Peleg 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Reu. And Peleg lived after the birth of Reu 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug, and Reu lived after the birth of Serug 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor, and Serug lived after the birth of Nahor 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah, and Nahor lived after the birth of Terah 119 years and had other sons and daughters. When Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. The descendants of Terah. Now these are the descendants of Terah. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran was the father of Lot. We're getting some iconic people here. Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his birth, in Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Nahor took wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. I always wonder if I'm pronouncing that right. Sarai or Sarah? I want to say Sarai. And the name of the Nahor's wife was Milcah, and she was the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was barren. She had no child. Terah took his son Abram and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, and his son Abram's wife, and they went out together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. The days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. And that's the end of chapter 11. Next time we're going to continue on. Let me mark it off my plan here. Genesis 12 through 15. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.